So we read about the birth of Savitri and her childhood. Now we're going to read about the growth of the flame. The flame is, of course, Savitri. And it's very interesting that here in this canto, Sri Aurobindo gives a kind of ideal picture of ancient Indian society. This legend of Shraddhavan and Savitri is supposed to have taken place long back in the Vedic times, early Vedic times. He says that King Aswapati was the first of time-born men to have this secret knowledge. So he puts it right way back at the beginning of the Vedic period. So he gives us this ideal picture of that society. And we do actually know where that country is or was, Madra, the land where he was king and she was born and brought up. And it is somehow the eastern Himalayas, perhaps up towards where Kashmir is now. So in the mountains. So that's how he starts describing it, is the land. A land of mountains and wide sun-beat plains and giant rivers pacing to vast seas. A field of creation and spiritual hush. Silence, swallowing life's acts into the deeps. Of thought's transcendent climb and heavenward leap. A brooding world of reverie and trance, filled with the mightiest works of God and man, where nature seemed a dream of the divine, and beauty and grace and grandeur had their home, harbored the childhood of the incarnate flame. Over her watched millennial influences, and the deep godheads of a grandiose past looked on her and saw the future's godheads come, as if this magnet drew their powers unseen. Earth's brooding wisdom spoke to her still breast. Mounting from mind's last peaks to mate with gods, making earth's brilliant thoughts a springing board to dive into the cosmic vastnesses. The knowledge of the thinker and the seer saw the unseen and thought the unthinkable, opened the enormous doors of the unknown, rent man's horizons into infinity. A shoreless sweep was lent to the mortal's acts, and art and beauty sprang from the human depths. Nature and soul vied in nobility. Ethics, the human keyed to imitate heaven. The harmony of a rich culture's tones refined the sense and magnified its reach to hear the unheard and glimpse the invisible, and taught the soul to soar beyond things known, inspiring life to greaten and break its bounds, aspiring to the immortal's unseen world. Leaving earth's safety, daring wings of mind bore her above the trodden fields of thought, crossing the mystic seas of the beyond, to live on eagle heights near to the sun. There wisdom sits on her eternal throne. All her life's turns led her to symbol doors, admitting to secret powers that were her kin. Adept of truth, initiate of bliss, a mystic acolyte trained in nature's school, aware of the marvel of created things, she laid the secrecies of her heart's deep muse upon the altar of the wonderful. Her hours were a ritual in a timeless fane. Her acts became gestures of sacrifice. So we'll start this side, Rosa.
A land of mountains and white sun-beat plains and giant rivers passing through vast seas, filled with creation and spiritual hush, silence swallowing life's acts into the deeps of thoughts, transcendent, climb and heavenward, live a brooding world of reverie and trance, filled which the mightiest works of God and man, where nature seemed a dream of the divine, and beauty and grace and grandeur had their home about the childhood of the incarnate place.
Yes. So this wonderful land of North India, Northwest India, a land of mountains and wide sun-beat plains. I suppose if we were saying this in prose, we would say sun-beaten. The sun beats down on those wide open plains. And there are giant rivers pacing, moving steadily and slowly in a majestic way to vast seas. Some of the rivers go into the Bay of Bengal and some of the rivers go into the Arabian Sea. This land is a field of creation and spiritual hush. So there's things going on there, things are happening. At the same time, there's this atmosphere of spiritual silence. And even today, if you go into that area of the Himalayas, you can feel that spiritual hush. Silence, swallowing life's acts. The silence just swallows up all the activities of life, takes them into deeper dimensions. And it's a land of thought's transcendent climb. There were beings who had thought very high thoughts, mystics and sages. They took thought to its very highest levels, and reaching beyond the highest levels of thought, leaping towards heaven, heavenward, leaping towards heaven. It's a brooding world. Again, that suggests the silence and the peace, and it's a peace that is full. Things are going to come out of this peace. A brooding world of reverie. Reverie is like muse, perhaps, or daydreaming, a kind of musing state, silence, great inspirations, imaginations, thoughts may come if we are in reverie. And trance, where we go deep within or high above and lose contact with the physical realities. That atmosphere of that area is like that. That land is filled with the mightiest works of God and man. Those vast mountains and forests and plains and rivers, and at the same time great human creations, wonderful cities and temples and great actions. It's a land where nature seemed to be a dream of the divine, and beauty and grace and grandeur, nobility, greatness and vastness, these things, these qualities, noble qualities, all had their home in that land. And this is the land which harbored, protected the childhood of the incarnate flame, that divine flame of sacrifice that Savitri embodies. Dhanalakshmi?
Over had watched millennial influences and the deep godheads of a grandiose past, looked on her and saw the future's godheads come, as if this magnet drew their powers unseen.
So she's being subtly protected. There are influences watching over her, millennial influences that are age-old, means they are thousands of years old, millennial influences, all the influences of the great past of this land. They're those deep Godheads, those divine presences from that great past that we don't know anything about. They look down on her and they see the new Godheads because she is bringing something new, a new power into the world. That's what her name means. No? Savitri is the new sun before it's risen above the horizon. She's bringing a new divine power and energy and light and truth into the world. So those age-old influences from the deep past, they see her, they protect her, and at the same time they see that new powers, divine powers, are coming as if they're being attracted by a magnet. Savitri's presence is a magnet attracting those new powers and possibilities of the future.
Earth's brooding wisdom spoke to her still breath, mounting from mind's last peaks to mage's gods, making Earth's brilliant thoughts a springing board to dive into the cosmic vastnesses. The knowledge of the thinker and the seer saw the unseen and taught the unthinkable, opened the enormous doors of the unknown, rent man's horizons into infinity.
So something is happening in that time, in that society, no? That for Savitri personally, what's happening is that this brooding wisdom of the earth, all the secrets, all the secret involved possibilities of the earth and the wisdom of the earth, that is speaking directly to Savitri, to her still breast. She's the flame, she has all the intensity and the passion, but also the silence. There's nothing restless and troubled there. Her still breast. The earth is speaking directly to her, communicating its wisdom. But around her, what is happening, the knowledge of the thinker and the seer, this is the time of the real foundations of Indian culture, when these great rishis, the thinkers and the seers, were there in the Himalayas. And like there are the high mountain peaks, there are also the high peaks of thought, of mind. And the knowledge of the thinker and the seer is climbing these peaks and then even using them as a springing board, a diving board, to jump off to meet the overmind powers or the above mind powers, to mate with gods. Making the brilliant thoughts that come from the earth, from men on the earth, into a springing board to dive into the cosmic vastnesses, into the universal, into the heavenly. So this is what's happening amongst those illumined beings. The knowledge of the thinker and the seer, those with the power of vision, they see the unseen, what hasn't been seen before, what is invisible. And they thought things that can't really be grasped by the mind. They open up the enormous doors of all the unknown, all the hidden worlds, and rent man's horizons. When we stand on the earth, we have always a horizon around us, no? But with their knowledge, they can tear apart that horizon, open all the limitations up into infinity.
A shoreless sweep was lent to the mortal's arts, and art and beauty sprang from the human's depths. Nature and soul vied in ability.
Vied.
Vied.
To vie means to compete. So it's as if nature and soul are competing as to which one can be more noble, more magnificent. So the mortal's acts, what human beings can achieve, somehow in that landscape and in that context, it's given this shoreless sweep, this vast range in which there is no borderline, no limit. The shore is where ocean and the land meet. No? But a shoreless ocean, no? There's no limit to it. And from the human side, art and beauty, wonderful creations, sprang from the depths of human beings. So nature and soul are competing, emulating each other in nobility. Gangalakshmi.
It takes humankind
Keyed.
to imitate evil, the harmony of rich culture tones, refine the sense and magnify its reach, to hear, to unheard, and glimpse the invisible, and taught the soul to soar beyond things known, inspiring life to glisten and break its bodies, aspiring to the immortals unseen world.
So this society there has a very high system of ethics. Ethics, it means what a society, what a culture regards as good and correct. So Sri Aurobindo has always spoken about the original culture of India, that they had the sense that the real purpose of society is to support the manifestation of the divine in the individual and in the group. So nowadays, if we think about our values, they're mostly based on materialism, although there's a growing sense that there are human rights that need to be protected. But there, the whole emphasis was on the development of the soul. So he says that their ethics, the ethics of that society, we can say the code of morality and of conduct, behavior, keyed. It's one of the things we do with a musical instrument. You know, we tune it, we turn the knobs on the violin or the sitar to get the right tone, you know, so that it's exactly in tune. So the ethics, this tuned the human behavior so that it imitates, it copies something of the way that divine beings should behave. It's tuning the human beings. And it's a very rich culture, many-sided, with very rich achievements. This rich culture is full of harmony. Everything is in tune, no? And this culture that is there refines the senses. Nowadays, what we regard as culture, there's a lot of vulgarity. But there have been epochs in the past when people's sense of beauty in all the arts of life has been much more refined than it is today. It refined the sense and extended its reach so that the senses are not only dealing with material things, but with things that can't be heard by the physical ears and can't be seen by the physical eyes. The senses, the subtle senses, are educated by that culture. And this rich culture teaches the soul to soar. This is what a bird does. It flies very, very high. To soar beyond things known. There are the things that we know that are all around us, but the soul should go towards the unknown. And it inspires the life to greaten, not to be preoccupied with small and petty things, with mere survival or mere enjoyment, but to greaten and break its limitations, aspiring to the immortal's unseen world. Do you like to read?
Me?
Yes?
Leaving earth's safety, daring wings of mine, bore her above the southern fields of thought, crossing the mystic seas of the beyond, to live on eagle heights near to the sun.
You can read the next line also.
Their wisdom sits on her eternal throne.
Yes. So these wings of mind has wings, wings can fly. No? These are daring wings of mind. Her Savitri's wings of mind carry her up above the trodden fields of thought where everybody's mind goes, all the well-trodden ways of thought. They leave the safety of the earth, of the physical world, and her mind carries Savitri across the mystic seas of the beyond, those mysterious oceans which are beyond the earth, and they carry her to live, her mind to live on eagle heights near to the sun. Eagles live high up in the mountains, and the eagle is a kind of symbolic bird, that it has these strong wings that can carry it very, very high, and that it has this amazing power of vision. And it's said of the eagle that it can look straight at the sun without blinking. So the eagle can live near to the sun, the divine light and energy and power. So that's where her mind carries her up there, to that region where wisdom sits. The goddess of wisdom sits on her eternal throne. That wisdom, mother wisdom, that is ruling the whole world. Joel?
All her life's turns led her to symbol doors, admitting to secret powers that were her king, adept of truth, initiate of bliss, a mystic acolyte trained in nature's school, aware of the marvel of created things. She laid the secrecies of her heart's deep muse upon the altar of the wonderful. Her hours were a ritual in a timeless fame. Her acts became gestures of sacrifice.
So this is speaking about Savitri. It's as if all the circumstances of her life, all her life's turns, led her to doors, to openings and opportunities. These are not physical doors, they are symbol doors, things that open up to her, new powers, secret powers that were her kin. Your kin or your close relations, the members of your family. So as she grows, as she develops, she has different experiences, and all of them open up new powers of experience and understanding, these divine powers that are part of her family or her retinue. Savitri is an adept of truth. An adept is one who is, it's like an initiate, somebody who has a special skill in some discipline. So she naturally, she can detect the truth. It's something that is familiar to her, that she can work with. No? The truth and the bliss, the delight. Very, very naturally, she's an initiate of bliss. She knows what bliss is. And she's an acolyte. An acolyte is one who is being trained for a divine task, to become a priest or a spiritual leader. So she's being trained in the school of nature. She's not getting training from people. The experiences of life are teaching her what she needs to know. She's aware of the marvel, the miraculousness of all created things. Everything is actually a miracle, but we tend to think things are ordinary and take them for granted. But she's aware of the marvel of created things, and that sense of wonder that she has, that the secrecy that what she feels in her secret heart, in this deep muse which is absorbing all these wonderful experiences. She's offering this on the altar. It's a kind of sacrifice that she's offering on the altar of the wonderful, the miraculous divine. So that her whole life, her hours, all her hours, are like the ritual that are performed in a sacrifice. Certain things have to be said, certain movements have to be made, certain gestures. No? So her hours are like that, a ritual in a timeless fane. A fane is the shrine or the temple where something sacred is worshipped. But in her case, there's no building. It's like the whole of nature is a temple, an eternal temple. All her acts, everything that she does, becomes a gesture of sacrifice, of offering. There's a talk in the agenda where the Mother speaks about this. When we are aware of the divine presence, when we are aware of at least of the marvel in things, then we have a feeling that each act should be done in a particular way with a special reverence and intention, and that this is the only way really to live, she says. No? If we can do that, when the Vedic priest does his sacrifice, he makes a great effort that all the rhythms shall be correct, and the movements and the gestures and the words. But all our movements and all our gestures and all our words, everything we do, can be done as a sacrifice if we are aware of the wonderful that we can offer everything to. So that's how she's living and growing.
Would you like to explain again the meaning of sacrifice?
Sacrifice in Savitri and in Vedic thought, it always means an offering to the higher powers. And this offering is made with worship. It's not a sense of losing something. It's of the joy of giving something. And there is also then always a return that comes. In Christianity we have a different sense of the word. But the root of the word is to make something sacred. So if Sri Aurobindo says, as you progress in yoga, you get the feeling that every breath in and out, it's just, you're doing it for the Lord. Everything that you eat or drink, it's food or drink given by the Lord. You accept it from Him, you enjoy it for Him, you offer it for Him. So this is when your acts become a sacrifice in a timeless fane.
Invested with the rhythm of higher spheres, the word was used as an erratic means for the release of the imprisoned spirit into communion with its comrade gods. Or it helped to beat out new expressive forms of that which labors in the heart of life. Some immemorial soul in man and things, seeker of the unknown and the unborn, carrying a light from the ineffable to rent the veil of the lost mysteries.
So the word, speech is a great power, actually. And it can be that the speech is used also in a sacred way. That's what he's speaking about here, the word, vak, the power of speech was used in that culture and by Savitri as a hieratic means. Hieratic, again, it has to do with the priest. The priest is the one who leads our sacrifice. So there are priestly ways of doing things as an initiate with knowledge. So the speech is used like that. It's used in order to release the spirit imprisoned in matter. That is, of course, what Sri Aurobindo, that's the way he uses the word in this poem. These are words of power that help to remind us of the knowledge that our spirit has deep within. This is how he uses the word. It's for the release of the imprisoned spirit into communion with its comrade gods. The spirit in us, imprisoned in matter, brings it into communion, into conversation with the gods who are free beyond the material. Or another use of the word, of speech, was to create new expressive forms. That's another thing that Sri Aurobindo was doing also, using language in a new way, to give new forms and new expressions of that energy which is laboring in the heart of life, what is trying to express itself, the soul, the spirit. That immemorial soul, that soul has always been there, beyond any time that anybody can remember, in men and things. So the word is used to express that soul, or give that soul new expression. And it's used as a seeker of new things, of the unknown, and the unborn, the not yet manifested. The word is used to carry a light from the ineffable. The ineffable is what can't be described or expressed. But if we use the words as a priest in a hieratic way, we can carry some light from that which is beyond all expression to the earth, to rend, to tear apart that veil which hides the last mysteries. That's what the rishis were doing with their mantras, and that's what Sri Aurobindo is doing also with the word. Mahalingam.
Newton's philosophies pointed earth to heaven, or on foundations broad as cosmic space, or
upraised.
The earth mind to superhuman heights.
So they're not only poets and rishis, there are philosophers, intense philosophies, pointing towards heaven, directing earth towards heaven. Or they are based on foundations as broad as cosmic space, universal views, philosophies. They lifted up the earth mind to superhuman heights beyond the usual levels of human thought.
Overpressing lines there?
Yes.
Overpressing lines that please the outward eyes, but hide the sight of that which lives within. Scripture and the painting concentrate the sense upon inner vision's motionless version. Revealed, no.
Yes, revealed, yeah.
Revealed a figure of the individual. Unveiled all nature's meaning in a form, or caught into a body the divine.
Yes. So he's speaking about the different aspects of the culture. No? Thought, poetry, speech, philosophy. Here it's the art, sculpture and painting. So in that culture, they went beyond the lines that please the outward eyes. There are forms that are pleasing just to our senses. But in truly great art, the forms do more than that. They reveal something supraphysical. These lines that just please the outward eyes hide the sight of that which lives within. They make a nice veil over the inner reality. But in this ancient art, sculpture and painting concentrated the senses on the very edge of an inner vision and revealed a figure of the invisible, unveiled all nature's meaning in a form, or caught into a body, the divine. Those people who make sacred sculptures, they were doing this kind of thing. No?
The architecture of the infinite discovered here its inward musing shapes, captured into wide breadths of soaring stone. Music brought down celestial yearnings. Song held the merged heart absorbed in rapturous depths, linking the human with the cosmic cry.
Let's pause there. So architecture, the architecture of the infinite, these wonderful buildings in stone, but the stone soaring up. The architecture somehow expresses some inward reality. Discovered here its inward musing shapes, and it captures them and expresses them in these wonderful stone buildings. That's the architecture. Then there's the music. The music brings down heavenly yearnings, calling us to the beyond. And song held the merged heart absorbed in rapturous depths. Still, some very fine Indian classical singers, they do something like this. No? They sing with such deep inner concentration, and their technique is so perfect. They've been trained for a lifetime, no? And they hold all the deep feelings of the heart absorbed in rapturous depths. And there's some kind of link between the human voice and the cry of the universe. Ranana.
The word interference movements of the dance molded idea and mold to the rhythmic swing and
Posture. Minute. Here it's the same spelling as the word minute, but here it's pronounced minute, meaning very small. Crafts, minute, yeah.
Minute in subtle line. Eternates. A swift moment's memory, or shows in a careful,
Yeah.
swift cuts, designs the
Underlying.
patterns of the unseen.
Yes. So first the dance, the classical Indian dance, or even the pre-classical dance that we don't know anything about. But what the dance does, real dancing, it's somehow an interpretation of the world, no? So these movements of the dance molded idea and mood to this rhythmic sway. This is typical of dancing, no? That there's swaying and there's rhythmic movement.
Dance of Shiva.
There's the dance of Shiva, but when I read these words, I remember an Odissi dancer that we saw at Bharat Nivas once. Yes, she was an exceptionally fine, refined dancer. It was so amazing what poetry she could express in her movements. Fantastic. Yes, so the world interpreting movements of the dance. No? And then he speaks about the crafts. No? In a really rich culture, even the objects of everyday use, they are beautiful and expressive. So, and sometimes very, very skillful. When he says crafts minute, it means things that have been made in a very intricate way, you know. In subtle lines, eternized a swift moment's memory. It's as if just in the design of some everyday object, we get an inner memory of something divine. And it's commemorated, it's something permanent there in that beautiful bowl or whatever. And he says here, the cup, a design of a cup, or the sweep of a carving, a wood carving or something, a picture. It shows the underlying patterns of the universe, the rhythms and forms that are so beautiful to us because we recognize them from some deep other world.
You can see them in even things of everyday use.
Yes, yes, beautiful bowls and things, yes. Yes. And then the poems.
Poems in largeness cast by moving words, and nature's searching is the ocean's voice, translated by grandeurs looked in nature's heart, but thrown now into a broad, glorious speech, the beauty and sublimity of her forms, passion of her moments and her lives, lifting the human world nearer to the
So listen to this. Poems in largeness cast. They're on such a grand scale that they are like moving worlds. And meters. The meter is the rhythm of the poem, surging with the ocean's voice. The rhythms of the classical Greek poet Homer, who's somehow regarded as the father of Western poetry. It's said to be like the sounds of the waves of a great ocean. But I'm sure that the Vedic meters are like that also. No? They're like the ocean's voice.
Valmiki's poems.
Valmiki especially, yes. Yeah. So those meters are translated, somehow they're expressed by grandeurs locked in nature's heart, in the rhythms of a landscape or in a mountain. But now they get thrown into a crowded glory of speech. All the sublimity and beauty of nature's forms get expressed in these wonderful meters. The passion of her moments, of nature's moments and nature's moods. So in this way, through these meters and through the scale and scope of these poems, the human word is lifted nearer to the divine word. Nargis.
Man's eyes could look into the inner realms. His scrutiny discovered numbers law and organized the motions of the stars, mapped out the visible fashioning of the world, questioned the process of his thoughts, or made a theorized diagram of mind and life.
So the human beings of those times, they were very cultured and highly developed people, and they were able to look into the inner realms, the subtler realms of things, and discover the laws of mathematics, numbers law, understand the movements of the stars, mapped out the visible fashionings of the world. So these are all sciences, looking analysis, no? And that scientific, deeper understanding is turned even on the process of his own thoughts, self-observation, or made into a theorized diagram of mind and life, a kind of psychocosmology of how all the relationships of mind and life are worked out in matter. So this is his picture of the harmony of a rich culture's tones. This is the rich culture in which Savitri is born and growing up, a very favorable environment for the development of the inner being. So we'll stop there for today. Shall we read some of it? Perhaps we can't read all of it. Let's start at the beginning. A land of mountains and wide sun-beat plains, and giant rivers pacing to vast seas, a field of creation and spiritual hush, silence swallowing life's acts into the deeps, of thoughts transcendent climb and heavenward leap, a brooding world of reverie and trance, filled with the mightiest works of God and man, where nature seemed a dream of the divine, and beauty and grace and grandeur had their home, harbored the childhood of the incarnate flame. Over her watched millennial influences, and the deep Godheads of a grandiose past looked on her and saw the future's Godheads come, as if this magnet drew their powers unseen. Earth's brooding wisdom spoke to her still breast. Mounting from mind's last peaks to mate with gods, making earth's brilliant thoughts a springing board to dive into the cosmic vastnesses, the knowledge of the thinker and the seer saw the unseen and thought the unthinkable, opened the enormous doors of the unknown, rent man's horizons into infinity. A shoreless sweep was lent to the mortal's acts, and art and beauty sprang from the human depths. Nature and soul vied in nobility. Ethics, the human keyed to imitate heaven. The harmony of a rich culture's tones refined the sense and magnified its reach to hear the unheard and glimpse the invisible, and taught the soul to soar beyond things known, inspiring life to greaten and break its bounds, aspiring to the immortal's unseen world. Leaving earth's safety, daring wings of mind bore her above the trodden fields of thought, crossing the mystic seas of the beyond, to live on eagle heights near to the sun. There wisdom sits on her eternal throne. All her life's turns led her to symbol doors, admitting to secret powers that were her kin. Adept of truth, initiate of bliss, a mystic acolyte trained in nature's school, aware of the marvel of created things. She laid the secrecies of her heart's deep muse upon the altar of the wonderful. Her hours were a ritual in a timeless fane. Her acts became gestures of sacrifice. Invested with a rhythm of higher spheres, the word was used as a hieratic means for the release of the imprisoned spirit into communion with its comrade gods. Or it helped to beat out new expressive forms of that which labours in the heart of life, some immemorial soul in men and things, seeker of the unknown and the unborn, carrying a light from the ineffable to rend the veil of the last mysteries. Intense philosophies pointed earth to heaven, or on foundations broad as cosmic space, upraised the earth-mind to superhuman heights, overpassing lines that please the outward eyes, but hide the sight of that which lives within. Sculpture and painting concentrated sense upon an inner vision's motionless verge, revealed a figure of the invisible, unveiled all nature's meaning in a form, or caught into a body the divine. The architecture of the infinite discovered here its inward musing shapes, captured into wide breadths of soaring stone. Music brought down celestial yearnings. Song held the merged heart absorbed in rapturous depths, linking the human with the cosmic cry. The world-interpreting movements of the dance molded idea and mood to a rhythmic sway and posture. Crafts minute in subtle lines eternized a swift moment's memory, or showed in a carving sweep, a cup's design, the underlying patterns of the unseen. Poems in largeness cast like moving worlds, and meters surging with the ocean's voice, translated by grandeurs locked in nature's heart, but thrown now into a crowded glory of speech, the beauty and sublimity of her forms, the passion of her moments and her moods, lifting the human word nearer to the gods. Man's eyes could look into the inner realms. His scrutiny discovered numbers' law and organized the motions of the stars, mapped out the visible fashioning of the world, questioned the process of his thoughts, or made a theorized diagram of mind and life.